Chad Blunt, you know what I'm saying? It's going down.
Know what it is, and the second game is when they finally, I mean, he had a good game. The first game he had like a 62-yard return, but the second game he had the 95-yard return, ended up getting special teams player of the week against Miles. And the coach is looking at me like, did you know he could do this? I'm like, you didn't?
Tell him you should have called me. I could let him know real quick. I should have called Delta State. That's my alma mater.
No, they did not.
I should have.
And this is what's so funny about Delta State. Christian's wide receiver coach from ICC was on the staff.
Is that right?
They were asking him all week long, like, tell us. And he was like, all I can tell you is be ready.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you one of the most impressive plays your son made against us his senior year. If you remember the play, it was toward the end of the game, and I think it was a 3 or 4 point game. It was close.
Oh yeah.
Our quarterback broke free in the secondary and was running down the sidelines, and your son dove and clipped his heel.
Yeah, I remember that play. I went, oh dear Jesus.
If Christian doesn't make that play, we win that game.
Right. That was scary.
It was great.
I was like, you can't be killing people.
It was a great hustle play on this.
All right, my first take this week, we're going to do a little bit of recap from week 2 from the JS report, week 2 of high school football season. Coach Locastro, thank you for joining us from Lausanne High School. Coach, I know y'all took the L in the loss column against Bartlett. Let's just do a little bit of recap with that game if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit better version of Bartlett than MUS did the week before. They weren't quite as gratuitous for us as they were week 1. But with the new coaching staff and some new players in certain positions, I think the first week against MUS they kind of got in the hole quick and could never recover. But they got a good football team, and Coach Smith and Coach Repstock and that group out there, they did a really nice job at Haywood, and their boys played really hard and played really well. They took advantage of, I think, some of our youth up front. We have 4 new starters on the offensive line, and Coach Repstock did a really good job of game planning and doing some things up front that caused us some problems, with our inexperience. So it was a great environment. We really enjoyed the opportunity to go out to Bartlett, and they've done some amazing things with their facilities. And I think we'll look back on that game, 6 or 7 weeks down the road and say that, having the opportunity to play those guys made us better.
Just talk about any players that might have stood out that game.
Well, they've got number 6. I'm not sure.
For you.
For us, it's we've got a brand new sophomore quarterback, TJ Jenkins, and he played well at times, and then at times he kind of showed his youth and experience too. I thought our front 7, I thought, played really well defensively. We gave up 2 explosive plays on the back end with some big pass plays, but I thought all in all we did a pretty good job of shutting down their run. It's C.J. Lowe played well at linebacker. John Michael Treadway played well at linebacker. I thought our defensive ends did a nice job, and I just didn't feel like we could ever get the game close enough to put pressure on them. And, the people that were at the game, they played super fast in the first half, and which I think that's what Coach Smith likes to do. And they got up on a 17-0, and then TJ made a good throw, in the third quarter, kept it 17-7. We never could get it any more closer than 10. Because they really played slow in the second half, trying to chew up as much play clock as they could because they had the lead. I felt like we had a really nice. They botched a punt attempt, and I think we got the ball through 20, and we dropped a touchdown in the end zone, and then we had a bad snap on the field goal. We should have cut it to 17-14 or 17-10 with the field goal attempt, but that may have changed the outcome a little bit, but hats off to them. They made plays when they needed to, and I thought they were much improved from week 1 to week 2.
That's one also, like you brought up through text messages over the last couple of weeks, this game needs to be on the schedule. Hopefully it'll stay on the schedule like you talked about. It gets you guys ready not only for your league game, but also for your playoffs as well. Because, like one of the players brought up, we love playing Coach Locastro and Lausanne because it does get us ready for our region schedule and our playoffs as well. So hopefully in the near future, Bartlett and Lausanne can still be on that schedule in years to come. I know that's a 2-year cycle.
Right.
But hopefully after the 2-year cycle renews again 2 years from now.
I would
definitely have it on the schedule.
Yeah, I would love to continue to play those guys. I think it's a win-win for both schools. Both schools historically, even though we've only been playing football for 11 years, I've had competitive programs. For us, you hit the nail on the head. The reason why we like playing it is because we feel like it does give us the opportunity to see the type of talent and the caliber talent that we might face in a state playoff situation. And hopefully, Coach Smith feels the same way. But, I'm counting on that thing getting renewed and doing it as long as Bartlett wants to do it. We're certainly, willing to get together and re-up the contract after next year.
All right, we'll pick your brains up a little bit in take 2, so that's what take 1. All right, take 2, Coach. We're going to do a little bit of background regarding the past week in high school football. What teams are some teams or players maybe have stood out to you for the first 2 weeks that doesn't really surprise you, but are just like going good so far for their team?
Yeah, I think MUS is probably the biggest surprise for me. I thought they went into week 1. I thought they were kind of the underdog against Bartlett, and they played really well, especially on the defense side of the ball. And then Melrose is a really much improved team under Coach Bobo, and we had the opportunity to scrimmage them preseason. And
I was surprised they only scored 0 points.
Yeah, I mean they got some talented kids, and I think that's another testament to MUS's defense and kind of what they've done. The municipal schools. Houston lost a tough one last week in South Panola.
Just the way they were competing with South Panola alone was just hard to none.
But I think they've got a chance to be pretty good, and I think this week honestly will sort out a lot of that 6A, in our city with Houston versus Germantown. I know that Germantown's got a lot of talent, and then you got Collierville coming to Bartlett Friday night, which will be a great test for both of those schools. Collierville, has a lot of talent as well with their quarterback Glover and Joe Kim Dotson and wide receiver. I mean, they got some weapons. But I think Bartlett's got enough speed in the secondary, and they've got Bartlett's got some nice weapons offensively too. They got some kids that can run, so I think that'll be a really good matchup as well. And then of course you got some guys now that are starting to go out of town in the large private division and playing some of the Middle Tennessee schools that are going to be super tough. Christian Buzz travels to Brentwood Academy. Brentwood Academy surprisingly is 0-2, but they played 2 really good football teams. 2
rival schools in the
Yeah, they played 2 really good teams. So I don't think them being 0-2 is really indicative of the kind of football team that they have. And it'll be a tough test for Christian Bros going on the road and going up there trying to play with those guys. It's early in the season. It's really kind of hard to tell. I've said this all along. To get into the state playoffs and make a run, it possibly playing in Chattanooga in December, it takes a little bit of luck. And you got to stay relatively injury free. You can lose a couple of key components of your team and go from being pretty good to pretty average pretty fast if you lose 1 or 2 of the wrong guys at certain points of the season. So you got to stay healthy. You got to get a little bit of luck, and you got to bring it every week because there's some really good football teams across the state. I'm like you. I always want to see West Tennessee well represented. And the more teams out of West Tennessee that we can get playing for state championships, I think it's good for all of us in West Tennessee.
Even these public schools like Southwind going down to Mississippi and playing these teams. Just want to give Coach Griffin them a lot of credit as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a few games real quick, Coach, real quick. Games of the week, we're not going to get in detail real quick. But an interesting matchup, Murfreesboro Oakland travels to Haywood in a non-league game. So that'll be interesting, a 6-1-5 versus 7-3-1 matchup. But like you brought up the game already, Germantown and Houston, a rivalry game, get there early fans, fans want to go see it. Collierville, like you said, at Bartlett, Collierville's off a great win against Beach last week. Mumford hosts Melrose in the non-league game. The Melrose fans need to go out and support Melrose and go up to Mumford. It's only 45 minutes away, but go out and support the environment for Mumford and just go out and support your local kids at Melrose. An interesting matchup, Coach. White Station 1-1, who's 8 seconds away from being 2-0, travels to Cordova in the league game. And then Bolton 2-0 plays at Lakeland Prep down the region game. And then West Carroll plays at FACS, but like you talked about, MUS travels to NBA in the non-region game too. So those are my games of the week with Coach Locastro. But if anybody wants to go out and watch some games, those are some games to go out and watch the kids. All right, my take 3 this week. Thomas Sellers Jr. will be and Coach Locastro now. Thomas, what do you want to say to Coach?
Hello. Good to see you again.
I'm doing well, buddy. Good to see you too.
And you're doing an outstanding job over there at Lausanne. I think I dealt with you in the athletic director hat a few times and things over there. There's a lot going on over there. Wonderful school, wonderful facilities, but a school is only as good as the people in it. And it's good. It's great to have people like you on board who are looking out for those kids. And I know when you see them going on having pro success, Mr. Payne and Gasol and all that. I know it makes you feel good, but that's what it's all about, getting these kids in the best position they can be in later on in life. So thank you for the work you're doing, and you coming in here is a part of it because you're here to promote them and even talking good about other schools.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys. I'm a fan of just young people, and I'm a fan of success stories that come out of our city, and guys get the opportunity to play at the next level, and if they're fortunate enough to have professional careers, that's just kind of the icing on the top. But at the end of the day, it's about producing young people that are going to be, great citizens and eventually great fathers and mothers and, and our future CEOs and entrepreneurs and doctors and attorneys. That's really what it is all about. Athletics is just a venue to be able to teach these kids the type of things that they need in order to become the type of people that we're trying to help them become.
But before they go off and do great things in everyday life, I need Bart to take care of business. But let's transition us back to football. So I think I was brought in to do our rankings for the Power 10 presented by Dynamix Physical Therapy. So we're going to do the best ranking first, and then we'll save John's for second. So number 10 in Dynamix Power 10 is Millington Trojans. They took a tough loss to a quality Mumford team, but they did display some grit and some heart, and very competitive. Number 9, Covington. Picked up a hard-fought win over Brighton K. Croson for the Brighton Cardinals. Great passing performance against them. Kid has a D1 arm, and he proved against a quality Covington team, but they got out with the victory and keep that winning streak alive against Brighton. Number 8, the Bartlett Panthers. They bounced back against a good Lausanne team. And hey, you beat Lausanne, by that score, you must be a quality opponent. This man right here can attest. It's not a cakewalk. So for Bartlett to pull off that win, they deserve to stay in our rankings at number 8. FACS. I think they're playing basketball over there, 65-0. They're averaging more points than most basketball teams in the area. They're number 7 right now. Number 6, Christian Brothers. 2 tough wins to begin the season. We're going to see how good they are when they go to Brentwood Academy. Can they pull off a win there? Number 5, the Houston Mustangs. You only lose 2 points at South Panola. Can't drop you too far in the rankings. Very quality team. But as Coach said, there's going to be some moving and shaking in Region 8, 6A this week. So we'll know for sure how things will start to shape out. Number 4. Their opponent, Germantown. So we'll solve that really quickly. Germantown still unbeaten, very good performances. They're looking good. So can they beat Houston? Collierville at number 3. Mr. Glover, the quarterback, but his favorite target, Mr. Joaquin Dawson, putting up 100 yards a game. That's a dangerous guy to get the ball in his hands. Anything can happen, and usually it's good for the Dragons. Number 2, NUS. It's a surprise to everybody. But they proved this past week, hey, they are ready and they're legit and they're for real. They're coming in at number 2. And number 1, the defending champions. And I'm going to send a shout out to my boy, Coach Kevin Cobbs out there, because I got some sense. The Mumford Cougars. And they beat the Millington Trojans 42-14. The M&M Bowl got a tough opponent, Merrill's coming up. And another one of those players that just electric, that's worth the price of admission, Kevin's son, Isaiah Cobbs, big 97-yard receiving touchdown against Millington. Not only did he display the strength, he eluded 2 tackles with a stiff arm, so the kid's getting stronger. He's proven that he's a D1 quality receiver. Don't let the height fool you. He's good. So that's the top 10 for Dynamic Power 10 going into week 2. Out of week 2 into week 3.
And here's my top 5. Number 5, I got Bufford back in.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I don't care. I'm putting him in. Sorry, Coach Kevin. But now, Mumford, like you talked about, Thomas, 42-14 against Millington, a quality team. But the reason I'm giving them the number 5 ranking is because their defense showed out in that game. Because, hey, they had 3 players combined for 25 tackles.
Clay Bridges, number 28 for Mumford, Clay Bridges. Watch out for that young man.
And then Landon Cunningham had 7 tackles in that game. Josh Griffin had 10. And then Josh Reeves had 8.
Yes, number
So
25.
25 tackles combined for those 3. They deserve a top 5 ranking, in my opinion.
Well, I'm getting a good scout report for week 8 for us.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, let me be quiet. Coach Calhoun, I apologize.
Number 4, I got Bartlett. Number 3, Germantown. Number 2, MUS. And then number 1, Collierville. Whenever you beat a state runner-up team at home against Beach, I think you deserve that number 1 ranking. And Aiden Glover and company, like you mentioned, Thomas and Coach Locastro, the Aiden Glover-Dodson connection is going to be huge this week against Bartlett. So Devin Rutherford versus Dodson matchup is the one matchup I'm looking forward to the most for this week. So if anybody wants to go out and watch some football, there you go. There's our top 5 rankings and our top 10 rankings right here. All right, take 4 again this week. Last week we did bring up a special occasion that we're going to talk about this week. Christian Saulsberry, Melissa Smith. Yes, there's a relation there. Christian Saulsberry is Melissa Smith's son. So, Melissa, thank you for joining the GS report on my Take 4. You got to do a video with me a couple weeks ago, which is going to come out hopefully soon. But just talk about what happened this past Friday at North Point, if you don't mind.
It was very memorable. It was a fun night. It was lots of people there. The school did decide to honor Christian by retiring his jersey, the number 2 jersey, which is the first jersey that's ever been retired from the school. And so everything just kind of worked out where we started working on this foundation. The retirement hall kind of came together that Friday. That we were at North Point. So it was a lot of family and friends and teammates, and we even had Edmonton, the city of Edmonton, live streaming on the live stream app.
That's awesome.
To watch it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it happened at 6:40, I believe, last Friday.
Yes.
So if anybody really wants to go back and watch it, that ceremony in general goes on the nhfsnetwork.com website where they televise, or not televise, but they also televise / record high school games for not only the state of Tennessee, but also all over as well. And if anybody wants to go watching that ceremony during that time, that's the time for him to go back and start it. Because I think that's what time they started the video.
Yeah, it was about 6:40.
So if anybody wants to go back and watch that, they can. But just talking about, we're going to talk about your son a little bit more in detail, like we talked about last week. He got on to play at West Alabama for college. Mm-hmm. He started out his high school career at South Haven, then went to North Point.
Right.
And then he had a phenomenal career at North Point and at South Haven, both of those schools. Like we talked about Coach Saulsberry, or Coach Locastro, Christian was pretty much untouchable back in the day. So just pretty much, he's talking about a little bit of his high school career. You talked about it a little bit more in depth if you want. But he's talking about some memories that you'll always cherish to see Christian.
I think it was Lausanne, to be honest. That game, a lot of people didn't know, but that game was significant, and that day was significant for him because he had taken the ACT prior to, and the test scores were coming out that day. And so we really needed good test scores. We needed good test scores that day, and his scores were late coming out. His scores, where everybody else's came out around midnight, the night,
Right.
The night before, his came out around noon.
No, more like 6:58, 2 minutes before kickoff.
No, it was like noon, and I was freaking out. And so finally, we got the scores, and because I knew he had to have good scores to have a good game.
Absolutely.
And as you know, he had an excellent game that night. He had interceptions and I can't remember all the stats, but I got the articles, and
Right.
there was a few articles written about that night. But they didn't know his motivation behind it was, I don't ever have to take this ACT again.
He's like, I got enough score. I'm happy we're good.
That's right. That's right.
You know what? Also, you said to me a state championship game against St. George's, the two local teams, pretty much back in the day in 2015. Who could forget that game?
Yeah.
Where Chase Hayden back in the day a little bit versus your son Christian back in the day as well. Two dominant players on both sides of football,
Right.
where somebody had to lose, but you know y'all just came up a little bit short in that game as well.
Right.
But just talk about that game in general too.
I think that game matured Christian a lot. You know, he had never experienced a championship. He had experienced the championship in baseball
Right.
with South Haven prior to transfer. At that time, he was the youngest freshman starter. You know, the youngest starter on the team. So, but he always wanted to win a championship, and I think being at North Point matured Christian tremendously. Because he had to take on that leader role along with the rest of his senior class. And so I think, you know, it made him understand that you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but did you play and leave it all on the field? And I think that's where his motivation came from, because he left it all on the field during that time.
All right, we're back. We had to take a break for a second. Yeah, phenomenal career at North Point. We're on the bigger things on the West Alabama now. Did some phenomenal things at West Alabama. You want to talk about that a little bit?
West Alabama was good for him. Not much to do in Livingston. So he did stay, you know, to himself a lot. He hung out with his teammates. But it was, you know, career-wise, it was good. His last 2 years were great. Of course, he wish he, you know, would have done better in stats. Some, you know, football players never satisfied.
Right.
So they always want to increase what they had. But I think his, you know, he graduated with honors, a scholar athlete. He was on the dean's list at ICC before West Alabama. So I think his college, he did, you know, he finished at 3.5 years, and so I couldn't be more proud of him.
Absolutely.
So.
Now we got was talking about Canada. He went on to Edmonton. Got that phone call from Edmonton, Canada.
Yeah.
Played for the CFL Football League. You know, he's like, Mom, I hate to say this, but I'm going to Canada.
well, let me stop you, because Mom knew he was going to Canada before he did. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because what
That's
you
not what
don't
he
know,
said,
yeah. What you don't know is Mom was his agent, and so I knew before he knew. And so I got the text from G. Simon with the Edmonton Elks
Right.
after Christian had worked out for them in April. It was around first and second week in May, and he sent me a text and he said the wait is over. And that's all he said in exclamation points. And I knew immediately what that meant. I just didn't know how fast he was going to exit my premises. Right. It was like maybe less than 6 hours and he was gone. We probably found out about 11. By 4 o'clock I was dropping him off at the airport.
Wow.
In the morning. So, but yeah, it was, he reassured me, Mom, don't worry about me. I'm gonna go up there and handle my business. And I never questioned that 1 second. I know Christian like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
So I knew he was given this opportunity, he was gonna do what he needed to do. But after the second preseason game, we ended up getting cut. The next day, after having 162 all-purpose yards, but hey, I had a coaching conversation with him before he went to go turn his things in, and told him how to handle it. And there was one thing he didn't agree with me on, but he did it anyway. And so, you know, I try to make sure that I, you know, not only prepping for football, but prepping for life. In football, where he knows some things are not going to be comfortable. And so they ended up cutting him, but I kept, you know, watching the season. He kept watching the season. And I kept saying, nobody has beat their all-purpose yards. Every week, I kept watching. I said, they're going to call you back. They're going to call you back, watch and see. And sure enough, we got that call on the 15th of August. Said, we need him on the next flight out. He was gone on the 16th. They said, we'll try to, you know, we'll try to play him the first week, but the first week he may be on the practice squad, and then we'll move him to active roster. And they kept their word.
It's an incredible story. So now we're going to fast forward. Now you have created a website in his honor.
Right.
Let's just talk about that website. This came out like within the last week or so.
Right.
So just everything that you've done for Christian so far up to date is just phenomenal. You know, you've done a great job. If you need anything at all, you know, we're here for you. But just talk about that website that you just created.
Well, I created the website in memory of him because I came up with a hashtag a few years ago where that says you can do it too. Because I want college football players to know that if they put in the work, they can accomplish anything they set their minds to. And that's what I instill in Christian every day. It's going to take work. It's going to take work. And once we terminated the contract with his agent and I began to take over, I had to work as hard as he worked. So we motivated each other. We played off each other. We were just not mom and son. We were agent and client. We were best friends, and we were all these things. So, he knew to take care of things on the field, and I handled things behind the scenes. This is new to me because I was perfectly fine being behind the scenes. I was the driver. He slept. I was perfectly fine with it. I cherish those moments now that we got to have when we were on the road traveling for tryouts and things like that. And I don't regret any of it. I'll do it all over again if I had to. So we created the foundation in order to provide support for kids that may be going to private school, athletes that may have a balance on their tuition. We also want to be able to offer scholarships to non-D1 players because D1 takes care of everything.
Right.
But D2, D3, NAIA is a different story. So we want to raise funds to be able to do that for football players as well. Not only that, but to educate our youth about anything they want to do, whether it's, a lot of people say, Christian, you need to focus on college. Well, in order to play football, you have to focus on college. That makes no sense to me. So I just felt like you can do whatever you want to do. If don't be afraid to say you want to play professional football. It's no different than somebody wanting to be an attorney or a dentist or a doctor. There's a probability you won't make it.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with sports. So I just wanted to let him know that you can do that, whatever you put your mind to. If that's what you want, don't be ashamed to say you want to be a professional football player. You walk in that light and you exhibit that everywhere you go. And I want the kids to know that as well. That wherever they put their mind to, they can do it. And so that's what the foundation is for. We're going to have activities come up. He gave me my first event called First and Goal last week. And that will be where, I can have one-on-one time, not one-on-one time, but a group brunch with not just players, but parents as well. You have to bring a parent, guardian, or somebody that's going to support you through that journey. Or coach, whoever it is. You have to bring somebody that agrees to support you on that journey, because that's where I'm going to share my gems that I learned throughout the years of helping him. Because this didn't just start in the professional ranks. It's been going on since he was 7. Everything that we did was strategically done to get him to where he wanted to be. So.
And what's that website called?
It is ChristianSaulsberryFoundation.org. We have T-shirts for sale. We have
she's doing a perfect design right here. I'm doing a vein of white right here.
T-shirts are $25, and we have bracelets as well with some of Christian's favorite sayings. Of course, this is the hashtag that I created that says you can do it too. This is the one that I love. The two that I love the most is I didn't quit, because he never quit. And then the third one was his most recent saying that we designed a shoe in Edmonton based on this saying, and it just says stand on business. So if you're going to do anything, you got to stand on what you say. We're going to have other items that come on the website, but you can go on their website and shop, and we will get your shipments out to you within, 1 to 2 business days. We're waiting on packaging now, because we got quite a few orders that we need to get out tomorrow, definitely. So, yeah. And I just want people to know his legacy, to remember him and never forget him, and what, hard work he put in, and go on his Twitter and his Instagram and his Facebook and see, all the posts that he made, because, you could get inspired by it. I mean, I know he, as my son, he inspired me.
Absolutely.
So now that I'm, got all this free time that I didn't want to have, but I have changed my major from HR to sports management. Hopefully, this is not a given and it's not a definite. I've talked to some people at Edmonton about the CFL women's football, and so hopefully it's like an internship. Hopefully I can go to Edmonton during training camp next season and give me some intern hours and move into professional sports. I want to continue what he started.
Absolutely. Like I said, Christian's smiling down on us every day. For anybody that knows him, just know that he loves you no matter what. You know, he might be 3,000 miles away or up in heaven right now, but he's there with us in spirit and in our hearts daily. And just keep on doing your very best in his honor. And players, if anybody wants to watch this film, just search Christian Saulsberry. You know,
there's plenty.
There's plenty of highlights, there's plenty of YouTube videos, but definitely one of the best players I've ever got to see and cover over the last, seems like 10 years now. So I appreciate your time, Miss Melissa.
All right, thank you for inviting me.
And that's my take 4, and we'll be back shortly.
Been scared of anything.
Yeah. Well, he played fearless.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not surprised to hear that. I almost seen him a graduation present. I was so happy he graduated from the report. so I didn't have to see him anymore.
Oh, he's had some things said. I've been like, goodness gracious. And then I think it was a nightmare when my nephew came right behind him. That was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You mean it's another one?
Yeah.
And there's another one, but he's at Horn Lake.
I got you.
So.
Did I ever tell you the story